Oh, you can see me. What's going on? It's your main man, Mr. X. I'm here giving you what you want to give you what you need. What's happening, brothers and sisters? We are here in this hot July sun in upstate New York. I won't be on long. I wanted to do some quick episodes so that you all, you know, just know your brother is here and there's a body of work and get you in my pocket. We've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years. And to actually sit down to just turn on the computer and hit live and talk about something that's pertinent to our community, thoughtful, intellectual, thought-provoking, and it deals with politics and our position in the United States and abroad. So you always want to be prepared to have something on your mind to discuss. A litany of reading material here is to consume information. It's kind of like you just consume, and as you're discussing it, uh, you make a connection to whatever literature that you was reading, and it sparks, spark. Ooh, this as I'm going this direction. I remember the story I read earlier in the newspaper, which Mr. Malcolm used to read newspapers before interviews, commit the stuff to memory, and bust it out, and you know, you wouldn't even know he did that. You figured, just like when you give information, sometimes not everybody references where they got the information from. It kind of seems like it comes from them. And I like to reference stuff. If I read something, I just assume someone's listening have read the same story, and so I want to reference it because I know they know where I got it from. And most stuff I get is black people, 99, 100% for black people. All the information I got previous to in the endeavors I was into sports wise were from white people. So um, I get information wherever it obviously can suits my argument and better puts me in a better position for my argument or debate or just lesson, lecture, as I'm giving to you right now. So the title of the show is Trump 2020. Malcolm X wanted you to vote for Trump. Now, I'm not participating in a legal process. Again, I haven't. Um, who knows when I will again. Uh, right now, there's a reparations movement where we are using our ballot as a weapon to expose the electoral process as the farce that it is. And I know it's a farce because I've heard too many stories about, especially in the past, that the mob, in its height, controlled politics up and down. Um, there was a great interview on Vlad TV. I don't like Vlad at all, but uh, he gives some great interviews and some great information there to be utilized to give to our people. And I'm entrenched with the mob, not for the killing and all that other stuff in the suits. It's complete and utter hypocrisy because they're lauded gangsters and we are not. But they have power. They're organized. So if you do movies on them, they have full control over the movie. Full control over it. They know that you're doing a movie. You're doing it in a city where they're prevalent. They're gonna come knocking on your door. So are you gonna do a movie? Okay. All right. Well, let's see how this is gonna work. You know what I mean? So this is how people get particular acting jobs and things like this. This gentleman had given how the story how he became Carlo from The Godfather, and magnificent story as Italians seem to be able to do, tell great stories. He talked about the mob having four presidents in a row locked up: Truman, Nixon, Johnson, Kennedy, and how they um, had a hand in killing John F. Kennedy. So um, that's a little known secret. Is several different conspiracy theories on how and why President Kennedy was killed. And obviously, the government was behind it. Yes, the very people he worked for, and they just whatever the reasons are, they had their reasons. He was supposed to deliver Cuba and defeat Castro, and they couldn't. And they tried. almost 300 times to kill Castro, and they were unsuccessful. And when you make a promise that you can get something and you keep failing, he promised to deliver Cuba, so that was going to be a haven for under bosses and underlords, and they're going to have their little, pretty much like they do now, some of these islands, you know, offshore accounts and drugs and all that stuff over there. It's going to be like a nice spot for gangsters and everything. He couldn't deliver, so you know how that goes. White on white crime, man. I tell you, it's bad, real bad. He was given all the goodies about white on white crime, and him and his interactions with Marlon Brando and working for the crime boss Joe Colombo back in the 50s. And I marvel at that stuff because I marvel at the fact that these guys can organize and control things. And a lot of times the boss doesn't come up with the ideas. In some situations he does, and others, the people under him whom we trust, comes up with ideas, pitch it to him, and like, I like it, make it happen. And so you go through the painstaking process of making a whole lot of money, doing whatever that particular person's idea came up with, or whatever idea he came up with, they'll just roll with it. So during that very same time, Malcolm X was alive. Vlad didn't ask him any questions about Malcolm X because he worked for Frank Costello as well. This particular guy worked for Frank Costello as well, who Bumpy Johnson worked with, and Bumpy Johnson knew Malcolm X. So you got all these figures here rolling around, pulling off hits and stuff. He said that Jimmy Hoffa they'll never find Jimmy Hoffa. He was crushed in the car and he was incinerated, so they'll never find him. So that's that. But he was like, this is what they do, and this is the same thing they do with Malcolm X. The FBI, when people run out of money, they don't do it because they want to find the answer. Oh, we found new clues, so we're going to open up a new investigation. So all this federal money has to come to the FBI, right? So they can do the investigation and find absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? And they know he's gone. They know he's incinerated, right? They got that information. They still follow him, right? But they're going to keep moving until eventually they say, yeah, he was incinerated in the car. Same thing they do with Malcolm X, right? Let's bring up the Malcolm X story again. Oh, we're going to open up the files of Malcolm X. Yeah, we're going to find who the crew actually is. It's going to be the same thing. The dude is buried in the box. They knew he killed Malcolm X when he killed Malcolm X. They sent him to kill Malcolm X. Then they're like, oh, this guy killed Malcolm X. No random niggas killed Malcolm X. That's not how it works. When you become a political figure like Malcolm X, don't no random niggas kill you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, people on high say, you got to go. And then people who want to make their bones say, I'll kill him. Because that's what people do. That's what niggas do. But the devils do it too. When devils say they want to make their bones, they're going to kill other white folks. They don't want to deal with niggas, especially during that time. So you going at crime bosses, hits made on other crime bosses. And someone had to carry out that hit. And so someone who wants to make their bones will say, I'll do it. So there's another white man killing another powerful white man. You understand what I'm saying? So they kill up. They kill up. But in any case, we're looking at an election here with Donald Trump and Joe Biden, right? And people were going back and forth in regards to who they want to win. Biden and Trump. We've done this 1,000,001 times, right? We do it every time like it's new, like it's brand new, right? Like this has never happened before. These are the only two candidates in the history of America, American politics, right? So in 1964, I'm gonna play a clip. Malcolm X talked about the voting process. He always taught the voting process. As a matter of fact, he was one of the first activists to break down the voting process from on high. He was well known, traveled the world, and can meet with very influential people from third world countries, and then come down, knock on your door in the projects. You know what I'm saying? And he set that precipice there to be the man to be a world traveler, be in the newspaper and the news and radio and all that, dominate the media when there was only a couple channels, and then knock on your door and sit in your living room while mice is running around on your floor and you're embarrassed all hell. Because Malcolm was a man's man. He was a people's people. He was from the streets. He lived in apartments like that, so he never forgot where he came from, and he sincerely wanted his people not to live in those conditions anymore. So he felt this is the things he had to do so that no black people had to live foot the ass like that. And they asked him about the '64 election. It was Barry Goldwater and Lyndon Baines Johnson, I believe. Kennedy was already dead. Died last year, or the year before, I would say. And so he said something interesting, and people make these comparisons between Barry Goldwater and Donald Trump and the language. So I want you to listen to the minister talk about Barry Goldwater and just remove Barry Goldwater and put Donald Trump.
Well, if Goldwater ever becomes president, one thing his presence in the White House will do, it will make black people in America have to face up to facts, probably for the first time in many, many years. And this in itself is good, in that Goldwater is a man who's not capable of hiding his racist tendencies, and at the same time, he's not capable of even pretending to Negroes that he's their friend. So this will have a tendency to make the Negro, probably for the first time, do something to stand on his own feet and solve his own problem, instead of putting himself in a position to be misled, misused, exploited by the whites who pose as liberals only for the purpose of getting the support of the Negro. So in one sense, Goldwater's coming in will awaken the Negro, and it will probably awaken the entire world, more so than the world has been awakened since Hitler.
So Malcolm was known for breaking down that political process and the labels that were given to people within the political process, the Republican, the conservative, the liberal, so on and so forth. They speak the language of white folks. White folks, when they talk to you politically, they speak in those terms. And he had to decipher them and give them definitions for the laymen's, for the brothers and sisters in the streets. Oh, he gave us the color code. You know, he gave us the color code. All right, so this is what he's saying when he said liberals, this is what he's saying conservatives and right wing and so on and so forth. And okay, now we get it now. Because when you speak in those codes, when you're able to decipher the language, you can understand the conversation. And they put it in that pretense so that we, the layman black person, could understand what they were talking about. So they would talk over their heads, even though they were speaking English, and we could understand English. We could understand the words, we just didn't understand the meaning of the words and what actually they were saying. We knew they were saying something we didn't know. And so Malcolm, being the genius that he was, having read the dictionary and the Bible and everything, anything to get his hands on while in prison, and when he got outside of prison, he consuming information like, aha, I got it. Now I'm going to give it to my people. And so he was talking about Barry Goldwater during that time, being a devout racist, died to the wool conservative for his people, a guy who wanted, by and large, wanted slavery reestablished. Let's look up Mr. Goldwater, who was a Jew, and Malcolm was hard on the Jews and called it anti-Semitic at that time. You understand? So he and this is the thing, you know, with this in this regard, because you got Malcolm, who was for anybody that was for black people. It didn't matter if you were black or white or whatever in that office. We're gonna hold our vote. We're gonna use it as a weapon. We are practicing black nationalism from the local level all the way to the federal level. So it doesn't really matter what you do, but you want to use your ballot as a weapon, ballot or the bullet. This is around the same time he did with ballot or the bullet speech, right? So he's giving the game to black folks and the way that we can win. Now I bring up the mob because the mob had money and they had muscle, money and muscle. People who want to make their bones so that they can control politics. So it really didn't matter what black people was doing. This is what I tell some black people: there's an underworld element that we're not talking to, we're not dealing with. Shout out to my brother Malik Muhammad. When certain moves, we were in rooms and we were trying to make certain moves, he was like, well, we got to talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Like, that conversation need to be had. And I immediately knew who he was talking about. And it's like, you know, you're giving this information, and I've been studying pretty hard. I ain't no A student, but I'm pretty damn close. I ain't never been an A student, but I'm pretty damn close when it comes to this. There's somebody who's not being seen or has been seen and he's invisible in plain sight that we got to talk to and see. before any moves is done, because you're talking about coming after a lot of money, and you ain't got no army to do it with, and you need an army. You need an army. You know, a lot of these guys weren't real military people. They were just tough guys. You know, good fellas, as they was called. Use any weapon they had on them, a level of fearlessness. You know, and they did what they needed to do because they knew they had a backing of more people, and it was established that, hey, if I make a move, you better make a move, because if you don't, you know, we're gonna look at you next. Your car gonna blow up. So it forces you to be tough. It forces you to have courage. And so from that, I want to say he wasn't actually in the mob. He was just working as an errands boy for a mob boss. He was giving the game about who was already in the pockets. They didn't want to run for politics. They had Hoffa, but Jimmy Hoffa, was doing too much. It was like, bro, like, you love the cameras too much. You love the papers too much. We a secret organization. If you part of this and you out there in front of the cameras all the time, you making it real hot for us, And I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at people talking about voting. If you're going to do the voting, because you got to make sure this stuff, the sham continues, right? So you got to involve yourself to the point where the sham continues. This is a discussion that you're going to have. This is why I'm done with all these tables. You're going to have this discussion, right? You're going to do the electoral process. At the same time, underneath, some people are going to be getting shot. Some people are going to be beat up. Some people are going to get roused so that things can be done. There's going to be a whole lot of agitation. You see what I'm saying? Is you ready for that? Body's going to be dropping. It's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot going on, especially if people don't want to give up what they've got with what they've garnered. Because you understand, they've been eating 100% for a very long time. 100% of the proceeds has been going to them. You're talking about construction contracts and the like. You're talking about allocated funds locally, grants, all those things. 99 to 100% of the time, those resources go to the white dominant society, right? So now you're trying to infringe on that. And the mob was like, we got local locked down. We're going after federal. We want Johnson. We want Nixon. We want Kennedy. We want Truman. 4 straight presidents. It was going 8-8. You know what I'm saying? And they were showing you how exactly that they were doing these things. You see what I'm saying? So Malcolm, in this day and age, would most definitely vote for Trump. Now, Biden is no better. Biden is just as racist, and he's coming from the Democratic Party, which from since 66, 68, Lyndon Baines Johnson had everybody voting Democrat. You know what I mean? He had everybody voting Democrat, and up until this point. And so now you all these devils are racist, right? But they try to hide their racism. The black people who are pushing for them try to hide their racism, and they bank on our ignorance of the political process. They bank on our ignorance of that person individually. You know what I mean? Because we're going to get into your personal feelings. We got to get it all up in your personal business, because then that denotates what actions you're going to take while you're in that office. Whom are you going to serve? If you got race biases, then you're going to serve the race that you're part of. You know what I mean? Only black people have self-hating coons who will get in office and do better at oppressing their own people than a white man ever could. And this is how they keep their job. The worse they do, the longer they keep the job. We don't have to worry about a black man running for office anymore. But what I will say is Malcolm would most definitely want you to vote for Trump, because look what we had. Look at what we've had. We're in a full-scale rebellion right now under the Trump administration. Trump has not moved from his support of the police, of white supremacist groups, tweeting things, a white man shouting white power. He is still speaking to his base. He's been consistent speaking to his base, and there's still black people talking about vote for Trump. Because he's been taught very well by a slave master, his grandfather and his father, to stay fast. All the work that you did as a strategically smart and intellectual slave master will all come into play. during his presidency. All the monies and all the different things that you did for black people who were celebrities, because you wanted to be involved. You loved that people would come to you for loans as opposed to banks. And people couldn't go to the banks. These are known black people. Couldn't go to the banks to get certain loans, so they would go to Mr. Trump. And Mr. Trump would break them off. He loved being in that position. So now when this thing occurs, this presidency occurs, no one speaks against him. If you was with him and you was chilling and he helped you out, this is my man, even my man. This is T.O. They asked T.O. about it. He said he's going to be a great president because he's a good businessman. And Trump knows Terrell Owens is very, very loyal. He's very loyal. Most sports Negroes are. And I love my brother, but he get caught up in a he gets it gets caught up in a bigger thing. You know, you can't be black sometimes and black, you know, here and there. You wishy-washy, you cross over every now and then. You liberal black and then you a black radical. Don't work like that. There is no in between. You either you is or you ain't. You know what I'm saying? So my brother was defending Trump during his initial presidency, thinking that he would be a good fit for president to reinvigorate the United States economy because of the business success that he had, so-called business success. And we know he has no business success. All they got is bankruptcies, same as T.O. But that's part of big business. People are going to, when you're playing with big money, you're going to have some bankruptcies. And, you know, those economists will tell you there's certain strategies that there's holes in the economy game. As I watched the interview, the Italian gentleman who ran with the mob was talking about certain things that he was doing, that he was getting knowledge from friends to do certain things with his businesses. So when it comes down to it, when they try to indict him, they couldn't because certain paperwork he purposely didn't fill out. Like, for instance, he didn't fill out his, he did some type of Ponzi type scheme. He didn't put date of birth on any of the paperwork. So when it came down with the federal indictments, he went up to the judge and he said, I'm an infant. You can't charge me for nothing. What are you talking about? I said, I'm an infant. I'm under 18. I didn't sign anything in terms of my birthday. They went through the paperwork, found it, case dismissed. Little practicalities right there that they know about that we don't. That's the human resources we're talking about. Access to resources. People who know the game and will give you the game so that you can better your life, your family's life, your community, and then your people. You see what I'm saying? And as Malcolm said, black nationalism is the key. But Trump can make those deals knowing that later on, when it comes to speaking for him so that he can get the black vote, because they know that they still have fans. No matter if they played Herschel Walker, Terrell Owens, these guys played long ago and all that stuff, the fans that they had then are still fans. Most of them still alive, especially Herschel Walker. But if they're still alive, and Herschel Walker was, you know, he loved white folks. Terrell Owens loved white folks. So they know that they'll move in a way that white folks can be accepting of them. And if they speak their language, white folks will flip on you like that. Black people, you know, we loyal to the motherfucker. If you mess up and then you try to make a resurgence and we see that it was heartfelt, we ride with you. You dig? So he you know, these guys speak in a language that code words that white folks can pick up on. Herschel Walker speak up and pick up on and say, I agree with that man. He said, I don't like black. What about all lives matter? All this violence that's going on. He's speaking code words for them, knowing that he's on this side. So they'll say, hey, this nigga knows what he's talking about. When you speak their language, when you don't speak their language, when you speak that Kaepernick has a right kneeling, oh, why is this nigga talking politics? This nigga shouldn't be saying nothing, you dirty big nigga. You know? And they know once they ask him about Trump, he's just going to lord over Trump. Same with George Foreman. George Foreman was in financial trouble, and they gave him an opportunity to fight in Trump Towers and win the heavyweight title. You see what I'm saying? So they feel they're beholden to this motherfucker. So it's about business. It's never about emotional. It's never about person. It's never personal. This here is business and politics. Politics and business, one and the same. Now we know this dude is a racist. Now it's not about him just being racist. It's as a racist white man, what things he's going to do against the black people. The exterminations are going to continue. The gentrifications are going to continue. The miseducations is going to continue. Each president to us talks to us like we're still slaves. Hey, I'm going to get black people jobs, not business opportunity, not land allotments, not removing taxes from us so we ain't got to pay taxes no more. You know what I'm saying? Giving our own hospitals, increasing the numbers of the doctors and the lawyers and so on and so forth. Removing the self-hatred from the music and the movies. This is all federal stuff. We've seen governors, executive orders, president, executive order, this whole pandemic. Everybody just been writing executive orders, whatever they want to do. Effective immediately, you got to have masks when you go anywhere. Word? That's something they can actually enforce now. Executive order, boom, just like that. Okay, executive order. Let's get this. All the monies that were maldistributed to black folks, to white folks, are now going to be redistributed to black folks. That these real housing developments that you all got set up, 4 and 5 stories, garage, lawn, space, 75% black is going to be living here. Find them in these communities. No, you're not going to import your own blacks from other countries and stuff like that. Feel think like you do and want them to do federal foundational black Americans. No, we want foundational black Americans living in these communities. We want to be able to control those communities. This is what we're standing on. I did this with Bernie Sanders. This is the template that we're moving off of. You understand? So Malcolm is saying vote for Trump because it's going to force black people to come together. Why? Because he's a avowed racist. He will not do anything for black people. He does not pretend to like black people. It's a person-to-person thing. It's a person-to-person thing. And the George Floyd cases and the Breonna Taylor cases, and he's always going to speak pro-police. But if you ask him about Terrell Owens, oh, I love Terrell. Terrell's a great guy. You know, he came on my show and everything, and I helped him out and all that stuff. I had a coach who spoke just like Donald Trump. Always talked about what he did to contribute to that black man's success. I didn't like the way he spoke about people. It was like this whole all-powerful, sentient deity thing that I sit on high and I assist black men in trouble because I'm the only one that can do it. You niggas always get in trouble and stuff like that. And so I have to bail you out, you know. But that was the thought process that he had. And like I said, this won't be a long show. I'm about to end it anyway. SoundCloud.com/GYHOMP. Matter of fact, I'm going on live now. I don't want to wait till this is finished. You dig? It'll be like, yo. Yeah. You know, I want to make sure it's finished, and then I gotta wait till it downloads and all like that. So I'm gonna share it on the page and whatnot. But you know, Malcolm wanted to vote for black people. Well, not really. You know, he said that I would vote for black. I would vote for Barry Goldwater if I had to have a vote to stir up the pot. That this dude would make it so hard for black people, even though it is so hard. But you have the liberal white. He would obliterate the liberal white because Goldwater didn't like the liberal white, and neither did Donald Trump. So the liberal white can't come in and talk this sweet talk to us because we see who's on high, who's in the White House, who's in the big house with the pillars, and we still out in the farms. And you told us that things would get better, that we would have houses of our own, that we would have acres of our own, that we would have a mule. Where's my fucking mule? I'm still waiting on my mule. You know? And then you have these states. Garrett Goldwater came from Arizona. You got these states are just horrible for black people to live in. I mean, Arizona, I think was the last state to recognize Martin Luther King Day. Do they recognize Juneteenth? That's gonna be the next thing. You talking about he's part of a right wing who doesn't want us to get anything, and we're seeing it locally all over the United States. See, we see videos and we see it 3 or 4 states across, 3 or 4 states south, 3 or 4 states west. It's always far away. Well, my message has been clear. Things are happening locally that's happening nationwide in your town. We just had a guy, luckily, thank God he didn't die, but cops more and more videos are coming out with cops putting knees on people's necks. Like, I don't care. I don't care. Are you supposed to detain somebody physically with one cop? Should you wait for backup? Hell, when I was in detention homes, we couldn't do one-on-one safety holds. So we had to talk and keep our distance until help arrived, and then we were apprehend. We would give the safety hold to the child, the young youth, so that he wouldn't hurt himself and we wouldn't hurt him. You understand what I'm saying? But no, for real. It just made sense the way they explained it. And I was like, I get you, because things can happen and all that other stuff. You want to be able to, the more people you got, you can take them down effectively, because you just grab a limb. Everybody grab a limb. You grab an arm, you grab an arm, you grab a leg, you grab a leg. What are you gonna do? Now he just got his head, and you risk getting headbutted, because that affects him too. Wow, we both. Somebody saw me out. Now he knocked out, and boom, we put him in the car. But that's too much like right. What's the point of having all these weapons and shit that you got in your arsenal and not being able to use them? You know what I'm saying? So I'm not voting for Trump, but I want Trump to win. We had a full scale rebellion. We've had a pandemic. We've had a couple race riots. We've had more and more black people murdered under his watch. He has defended those people, and unfortunately, we have to martyr them. We don't move unless black life is lost, and we need help on the grassroots level. We need more awakened black people who are ready for action, who are going to go through the painstaking process of developing institutions that can be sustained so that we can change the minds of our people. SoundCloud.com/GYHOMP. The Quinn Mr. X on Facebook. Get your hand in my pocket on Facebook. YouTube, subscribe and share. Brothers and sisters, I love you. Thank you. I'm out.